Given that my Anthem cartoon is comfortably sitting around 5,000 views, so it's practically viral, I thought I'd make a behind-the-scenes / making-of video showing the process of creating it. I should start off by saying that this is absolutely not a tutorial, so I'll be showing you what I did rather than how I did it. I'll be going over everything from backgrounds to sound effects, all in the context of a single shot, so I can get into specifics without making this video like a million years long. This is the sort of thing I really wanted more people to do when I was getting into animation, so I thought I'd do my part and make this video, and then you could be a cartooning legend like me. I'm a cartoon boy. So this is the shot I chose to break down. Hey wait, you passed me up. I'm over here. Look behind you. Please. And that's it. A little under 15 seconds long. Starting with the background, I created these mountains for the distant background. This is a looping dirt texture for the floor. I drew a variety of trees. A variety of different rocks for the ground. And a couple of tileable background assets. This is a shrub. To add variety, I also made this sleepy tree taking a nap on the job. Given that it'll be closer to the camera, I separated it into multiple layers that will move in 3D space, giving it some dimension as the camera pans back and forth. I then put all these assets together in After Effects to create a quasi-3D scene, which I can easily restructure based on the needs of the shot. For the interceptor rig, I began by sketching out its design before drawing its pieces on top. I gave the interceptor 3 different angles, which can be cycled through for the whole body or piece by piece. Here's the head turning around. I gave its eyes this red overlay with a special blur in blending mode in order to make it look like they're glowing. It's a Toon Boom thing and I love it. Its jetpack has this canned open and close animation built into it to make it easy to use, and I gave its arms this simple bone deformer, here it is, that makes it easy to pose around. The legs, in contrast, are modular, with each piece being a separate drawing connected to the last, which allows a lot of freedom when moving around these weird bird legs. It was the same process for the Storm Javelin, which I began by drawing a multi-layered sketch, before rendering the individual drawings on top of it, to make it look cool, like this. The eyes have a similar glow effect to the interceptors because I really love this feature. I think it's just awesome. Given that the storm isn't symmetrical, I had to account for the position of the cape and spellcasting arm with drawing substitutions based on whichever direction it's currently facing. Here you can see you could customize the arm based on which direction you want. The legs are modular too, just like the interceptors. I love these weird bird legs. But this time I made the arms modular, so they look a bit more heavily armored in comparison to the interceptors. Finally, I gave its cape a curve deformer, allowing it to be easily animated flapping around in the breeze, which I don't know if I ever actually made it do, but it's a cool feature anyway. Woo! The scrappers were created in a similar manner, but I added a variety of drawing substitutions to make each one look unique. You could change the body and backpack separately. I'm sure you get the point by now, but the Destroyer was the same thing. I did the drawing and then I drew on top of it. Now he's Raven. Using the rig I just made, I animated this shot of the interceptor drawing its daggers, flailing its arms around, and then landing. I hand drew the additional effects frame by frame, having the fire follow the interceptor through its spin. Here it is soloed, spin, and stomp. And I also had the daggers glow and then dissipate as it stomps. Using Toon Boom's inbuilt tools, I made these effects appear to glow just like I did for the eyes. I love this feature so much. Bringing the animation into After Effects, I can add a few more additions, such as having the fire give a flickery illumination to the interceptor's back. Because I want the flailing to look extra fast, I separately render out the arms spazzing out, and then I offset them a bit in the After Effects composition. Here I add a radial blur to the second set of arms to make them look like they're the trailing motion blur of the movement. I add a mask to keep the blur from spilling out from behind the interceptor. You need to keep all that movement in the front. And on the topic of motion blur, I also add a horizontal directional blur to the interceptor as it spins around to make the movement look a little bit faster and more organic. I just think it looks cool. I also created a stock animation of the different scrappers walking and then firing, and gave each one a unique death animation as they make contact with the Interceptor's blades. For the Storm in the background, he's just cycling through a simple breathing loop, but I added some hand-drawn, frame-by-frame electricity effects that follow the contours of the armor, because I wanted to make it hard on myself. And because I loved this feature so much, I also made them glow like I did with all the other effects. The critical failure symbol that appears above his head was created out of a number of different layers that were each shaking at a different pace. I also made the label flicker to a secret link for a fraction of a second, so find that. I added all these elements together into the background composition and added camera movement following the action as the Interceptor goes through the line of scar. To make it look a little bit more dynamic, I add another horizontal directional blur to the background as the camera follows the Interceptor, as well as adding a similar effect to the bullets flying past the character to make everything look extra speedy. In order to make the hits appear more impactful, I add an extreme camera shake on the points of contact, which fade back out almost immediately, but make the hits look really hard and violent, which is how I like it. I do the same thing to the Interceptor's stomp, making the impact look a bit more forceful as it hits the ground. Stomp. 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 Okay, so you might be thinking this is looking fairly finished, but the camera movement still isn't quite nauseating enough for me yet. To rectify this, I make the whole composition violently shake around during the action and then suddenly stop when we hold on the Storm. And I scale up the frame slightly to keep it from showing the edges of the shot as it shakes. I hate to destroy the magic here, but the camera refollowing the Interceptor here is actually a hidden transition to another shot. The background can only be so large before running into problems, so I sewed these two shots together with a mask and heavy motion blur, which hopefully looks pretty seamless when in motion. Sound effects are last. For the jetpack, I pitched up the sound of a rocket, and then I modified the volume to match the movement with the Interceptor, increasing and decreasing as it spins. I keep the volume at a constant volume as the Interceptor is in frame, and then I fade it out as it leaves the frame, only to have it rapidly increase again and suddenly peak during the landing. Almost everything needs a sound effect, from the slashing daggers, the scar gunfire, each individual impact and landing, to the sparks in the Storm's armor, so there's a lot in here. For copyright purposes, I recommend freesound.org for royalty-free sound effects, or just using Halo sound effects and hoping to God no one notices. So here's the shot as we have it now. For the music, I used an unused track my BFF Liam Vickers created for my animation Fluffball and Mimi, having it slowly amp up and then suddenly increasing on the Interceptor's stomp. Like the jetpack, it fades out and in with the Interceptor's relative position to the camera. And after all that work, the final step is to ruin the whole thing with your terrible ad-libbing. Hey, wait, you passed me up. I'm over here. Look behind you, you missed me. Hey, look, you passed me up. I'm sorry, I'm over here. Look behind you. Please, look behind you. And that's everything. It may have sounded like a lot of work, but remember that some assets, such as the backgrounds and rig setup, only have to be done once for the entirety of the cartoon. I'm also selling the Javelin and Scar rigs on my website, so if you have Toon Boom Harmony, you could animate Javelins Part 2. Because I sure as hell am not going to do it. Okay, I don't actually know how to end this video. Smash that like button. Break that like button with your fingers. Subscribe to someone else. I don't think I deserve it at this point. Okay, I'm just gonna stop recording now.